The Velthari fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system with 500 warships. Their hulls gleamed under the distant light of the sun, and their weapons charged with enough power to crack planets. Admiral Kromek stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue world on his screen. He felt proud. This would be an easy conquest. Scan complete, his tactical officer reported. The humans have basic satellites and some defensive stations around their planets. Nothing that can stop us. Kromek clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. The coalition of 6 species had chosen well. Humanity appeared weak, confined to one star system, barely able to travel between their own planets. They would provide excellent slave labor for the mining operations. Their world was rich in resources that the coalition needed. Send the message, Kromek ordered. Across all of Earth's communication channels, the message arrived. It was simple and brutal. Surrender everything. Become subjects of the Velthari coalition. Resistance would mean extinction. Humanity had one day to decide. On Mars, inside a red stone facility built into the side of a canyon, Commander Hyunwoo received the message. He was a man of average height with gray hair and calm eyes. He had been expecting this day for a very long time. Around him, younger officers panicked, shouting about preparing defenses and evacuating civilians. "Sir, what do we do?" Captain Daehyun asked. He was young, barely 30, and this was his first real crisis. "We need to mobilize everything we have." Hyunwoo looked at him with something like sadness. "Send a reply. Tell them to withdraw immediately. Tell them they have made a grave mistake." "But sir," Daehyun protested, "they have 500 ships. We barely have 50 defense platforms." "Send the message, Captain." The reply reached Kromek within minutes. The Admiral read it and laughed. His bridge crew joined him. The humans were warning them. These primitives who barely had fusion engines were telling the coalition to run away. It was absurd. "They must be insane," Kromek said. "Begin the attack. Destroy their outer defense stations. Show them what real power looks like." The Velthari ships moved forward. They targeted the human stations orbiting Jupiter and Saturn first. These were small facilities, barely armed. The aliens expected a desperate fight. Instead, they found the stations abandoned. Every single human had evacuated before the first shot was fired. "They ran away," one of Kromek's officers said with contempt. "They are cowards." But something bothered the Admiral. Why evacuate so calmly? Why not even try to defend? He pushed the thought away. Fear made species do strange things. Far below Mars' surface, in a laboratory carved from ancient stone, Dr. Yoonji stared at her research. She had spent 20 years studying the ruins found throughout the solar system. Strange structures on Mars, buried facilities on Europa, geometric patterns in the asteroid belt. Everyone assumed they were built by some alien race that had visited long ago. But Yoonji had discovered something that made her hands shake. The writing in these ruins, when translated properly, was not alien at all. It was human. Very, very old human. The dates she calculated were impossible. These structures were 4 million years old, built when Earth's continents were still forming their current shapes. "This cannot be right," she whispered to herself. But every test confirmed it. Humanity had not evolved on Earth. They had come from somewhere else, already advanced, already ancient. Her terminal blinked. A message from Hyunwoo. Just 2 words, Phase 1. Eunji felt cold. She knew what those words meant. She had been briefed 2 years ago, sworn to secrecy, shown things that changed everything she understood about reality. She thought they would never actually do it. She prayed they would never need to. She opened a secure channel. "This is Yoonji, I confirm. Begin Phase 1. Across the solar system, on dozens of moons and asteroids inside the rings of Saturn, beneath the ice of Europa, ancient machines woke up. They had been sleeping for 100,000 years. Now they stirred, drawing power from sources the Velthari could not understand. On his flagship, Kromek's tactical display suddenly filled with red warnings. Energy signatures were appearing everywhere. Massive ones. His computers could not identify the source. "What is that?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. The signatures they are bigger than our entire fleet combined, and they are coming from the asteroids, from the moons, from everywhere." "That's impossible. Those are just rocks." But they were not just rocks. One by one, the surfaces of asteroids cracked open. Ancient platforms emerged, covered in technology that looked nothing like human engineering because it was so far beyond anything the Velthari had seen. The designs were elegant, simple, and absolutely incomprehensible in their complexity. Sir, those structures, our computers cannot classify them. They are reading as millions of years old, but that cannot be accurate. Kromek felt fear for the first time.
Fire on them! Destroy those platforms!
The Velthari ships opened fire with their most powerful weapons. Energy beams that could melt mountains struck the ancient platforms. Nothing happened. The weapons simply dissipated against shields that had no visible projectors. Then one of the platforms responded. Not with weapons, with something else. The largest Velthari dreadnought, the pride of the Coalition fleet, simply vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. No explosion, no debris, just gone. Panic spread through the Coalition fleet. Ships began breaking formation, trying to retreat. Then they received a transmission. The missing dreadnought had appeared 500 light-years away, all crew alive and unharmed, just deeply terrified. The ship had been moved instantly across a distance that should take months to travel. Hyunwoo watched from Mars as the platforms revealed themselves. He felt tired. So very tired. He had hoped this day would never come. He had hoped the younger races would see the signs, would understand the warnings left in their own ancient texts, would choose peace instead of conquest. But they had not. And now they would learn the truth. He pressed another button on his console. This one broadcast on all frequencies to every ship in the alien fleet, to every planet in the Coalition. This is Commander Hyunwoo of the Human Defense Force. You have attacked the oldest spacefaring civilization in this galaxy. We have existed for 12 million years. We seeded your worlds with life. We have watched you grow. We have guided you from the shadows, hoping you would mature beyond violence. Today you have failed that test. He paused, letting the words sink in. Around the solar system, hundreds of ancient human ships began to decloak. They had been hiding in plain sight for thousands of years. Withdraw now. We do not wish to harm you. But if you continue this aggression, you will see what we built when we were young and still believed in war. You will see why we are called the Ancient Ones. Kromek stared at his screen in horror. The ships appearing around his fleet were enormous, built with technology that seemed to ignore basic physics. And there were so many of them. His communications officer was crying. Sir, I am receiving messages from home. Our historians have found references to the Ancient Ones in our oldest texts. They were considered myths, stories to scare children, but they matched these ships exactly. The Admiral's world crumbled around him. He had not attacked a primitive species. He had attacked humanity's home. He had struck at the very race that had planted the seeds of life on his own world billions of years ago, and they were not happy about it. The Coalition fleet hung frozen in space, caught between retreat and pride. Admiral Kromek's command ship drifted among the ancient human platforms, none of which had fired a single aggressive shot. That somehow made it worse. The humans were not even trying. They were simply showing what they could do. On Earth, in a building that looked like simple glass and steel but was actually made from materials older than most stars, Jiwon prepared to address the galaxy. She was a woman in her 60s, or so she appeared. In truth, she had lived for 3,000 years and served as speaker for the Elder Council. Today would be the hardest speech of her very long life. Are we certain about this? She asked the empty room. We are certain, replied a voice from everywhere and nowhere. Elder Yunho, one of the founders, spoke through the building itself. They must know the truth. All of them. The experiment has reached its conclusion. Jiwon nodded slowly. She had spent 30 centuries watching younger races grow, guiding them subtly, leaving clues in their development. She had hoped they would figure it out gently. Instead, the Velthari had forced humanity's hand. She activated the broadcast system. Every device in the galaxy capable of receiving signals would hear this. Every alien species, every colony, every ship. People of the galaxy, she began. My name is Jiwon. I speak for humanity. It is time you learned who we really are. In orbit around Jupiter, Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of a ship that defied understanding. The vessel was 3 miles long, shaped like a crescent moon, and its hull seemed to shift between solid matter and pure energy. Around him, his crew worked at stations that responded to thought as much as touch. Minho was old even by human standards. He had been there during the Great Withdrawal 100,000 years ago, when humanity had decided to hide and watch. He had argued against it then. He still was not sure it had been the right choice. Sir, his tactical officer said, the Velthari admiral is broadcasting to his fleet. He is trying to convince them to continue the attack. Minho smiled sadly. Pride was a powerful force. Let him talk. They need to make their choice freely. On Mars, Captain Daehyun sat in shock as the truth unfolded around him. He had grown up believing humanity was young, that they had evolved on Earth, that their history stretched back only a few 100,000 years. Now he learned it was all a lie. A comfortable lie, but still a lie. Commander, he said to Hyunwoo, how long have you known? Hyunwoo turned from his console. His calm face showed cracks now, deep tiredness in his eyes. I was there when we made the decision, Daehyun. I voted to hide our true nature. I thought if younger species discovered their own path without knowing we existed, they would become better than us. Stronger. Kinder. And did they? Some did, many did. But the Velthari, Hyunwoo shook his head. They found our ruins on dozens of worlds. They studied our technology. They learned nothing from it except how to build weapons. They saw power and wanted it for themselves. Daehyun felt anger rising. So we let them? We watched them become conquerors? We left them clues, warnings. Every ruin had the same message carved into it. Power without wisdom leads to ashes. We hoped they would understand. Jiwon's broadcast continued across the galaxy. She showed images from Earth's true history, recordings preserved in quantum storage for millions of years, humanity spreading across the stars when the galaxy was young and empty, finding no other intelligent life. The loneliness of being first. We were alone, Jiwon said. For 5 million years we searched every corner of this galaxy. We found beautiful worlds, complex ecosystems, but no one to talk to. No one to share the universe with. So we made a decision. The images shifted. Ancient humans in laboratories working with the building blocks of life itself, taking their own DNA and modifying it, adapting it to thousands of different worlds, seeding planets with potential. We created you, Jiwon said simply. Not directly. We planted the seeds and let evolution do its work. We gave life a chance to grow in ways we could never predict. And then we waited. In the Velthari fleet, panic turned to something else. Horror, understanding, denial. The 6 species of the coalition had always wondered about the mysterious ruins found throughout their territories. The precursor civilization, they had called it. Ancient builders who left traces everywhere but vanished without explanation. Now they knew. The precursors had not vanished. They had simply stopped building and started watching. Some of you became insect-like, Jiwon continued. Others became aquatic or crystalline or gaseous. We watched you grow and felt joy. You were our children, but you were also yourselves. Unique. Beautiful. Different from us in ways we never expected. Dr. Yoonji appeared on the broadcast next. She showed her research. The translations of ancient human writing found in ruins across 100 worlds. The same message repeated everywhere. We were here. We watched over you. Grow wise. Every technological breakthrough your species achieved had help, Yoonji explained. When the Velthari discovered fusion power, they thought it was pure luck that led their scientists to the correct formula. It was not luck. One of us was there, working as a janitor in that laboratory, leaving the right papers in the right places. She showed more examples. The Kroth discovering faster than light travel, the Benexi learning to terraform planets, the Xylar developing medical technology that extended life. In every case, at critical moments, humans had been there, disguised, hidden, guiding. We are shapeshifters, Yoonji said. We are masters of biology. We can become any form we choose. We have walked among you for thousands of years and you never knew. Admiral Kromek listened to the broadcast and felt something break inside him. His second officer, a trusted friend for decades, turned to him. Sir, I must confess something. Kromek looked at him, saw something change in his eyes, watched as his friend's form shimmered and shifted. The Velthari officer became a human woman with kind eyes. I am sorry, she said. I tried to guide you away from this path. I argued against the invasion in every meeting. But you would not listen. The Admiral's legs gave out. He collapsed into his command chair. Everything is a lie, not everything. Your accomplishments are real. Your art, your music, your love for your families, those are all yours. We gave you life, but you created meaning. On the bridge of his great ship, Admiral Minho made a decision. He sent a command through the fleet. Around Jupiter, hundreds of human vessels moved into formation. They had been hiding in the gas giant's atmosphere, beneath its storms for 10,000 years. Now they rose into view. The Coalition fleet's sensors went mad trying to count them. 800 ships. 1,000 more, they kept coming. Each one was larger and more advanced than anything the aliens had ever built. "This is Admiral Minho of the Human Defense Fleet," he broadcast. "We do not wish to fight you. We have never wished to fight anyone. But we will not allow you to harm our homeworld. You have a choice. Accept the truth and join us in peace. Or continue your attack and see what we built when we were still young and still believed war could solve problems." One of Chromek's ships broke formation and ran. Then another, then 10. The Coalition was falling apart, but Chromek himself was not ready to surrender. His pride, his shame, his anger at being deceived for so long, all of it boiled over. "They have been lying to us for millions of years," he broadcast to his remaining ships. "They played God with our entire existence. Is that not a crime? Should we not punish them for their arrogance?" Some ships responded to his words, the proudest, the most afraid, the ones who could not accept being lesser. About 100 vessels remained loyal to the Admiral. On Mars, Hyunwoo watched the fleet split apart. He had hoped for better. He had prayed that when the truth came out, wisdom would prevail. But he knew history. He knew that truth often made people angry before it set them free. "Phase 2, he ordered quietly. The ancient platforms around the solar system shifted their configurations. They were no longer just shields. They became something more active. Not weapons exactly, but tools of control. The 100 ships that remained with Chromek found their engines would not respond. Their weapons would not fire. They drifted in space, completely powerless but unharmed. "You are children playing with your parents' tools." Minho's voice came across every channel. "We gave you fire because you were cold. You used it to burn each other. We gave you the stars because you were curious. You used them to wage war. We are disappointed. But we are not angry. We are simply sad," Chromek screamed in frustration. His mighty fleet was reduced to helpless metal boxes floating in space. Everything he had believed about Velthari superiority was shattered. "What do you want from us?" he finally asked, his voice broken. Jiwon's face appeared on every screen. Her expression was gentle but firm. "We want you to grow up," she said. "We want you to stop fighting over resources in a galaxy that has more than enough for everyone. We want you to create instead of destroy. We want you to be worthy of the gift we gave you." She paused, and her next words were heavy with meaning. "But most of all, we want you to be ready, because we were not the first, and something is coming that will test all of us." 3 days after the failed invasion, the galaxy was in chaos, not the chaos of war but of understanding. Every species was reevaluating everything they knew about their history, their origin, their place in the universe. Elder Yunho materialized in the Great Hall on Earth. He did not walk into the room. He simply appeared, his form shifting from light into solid matter. He was old beyond measure, one of the original founders who had started the Great Seeding Project 12 million years ago. His face showed wisdom but also deep exhaustion. "Was I wrong?" he asked the other elders gathered there. "Should we have told them from the beginning?" Jiwon stood nearby, watching broadcasts from across the galaxy. Some species were handling the news well. Others were not. They needed to discover their own identity first. If we had revealed ourselves too early, they would have become dependent on us. They would never have grown. "Some of them are calling us tyrants," another elder said. "They say we played God without permission." "We did play God," Yunho admitted. "We were young and arrogant. We thought we could create life and guide it perfectly. We learned humility over millions of years. Perhaps now they will too." On a Velthari colony world, diplomat Thexel stood before an angry crowd. He was one of the few of his people trying to see reason through the shock. "Listen to me," he shouted over the noise. "Yes, they created us. Yes, they hid from us. But think about what they did not do. They did not enslave us. They did not demand worship. They let us build our own civilizations. They manipulated us." Someone in the crowd yelled back. "Every achievement we thought was ours was actually theirs." "No," Thexil insisted. "They gave us hints, small pushes, but we did the work. We built the ships. We wrote the music. We loved our families. That was all us. They just made sure we had the chance." The crowd was not convinced. Fear and anger were easier than acceptance. Back on Earth, young Borum sat in a classroom with other children. She was only 10 years old, but she had questions that made adults uncomfortable. Teacher, she asked, if we made all the aliens, does that mean we own them? Her teacher, a woman named Sora who had lived for 500 years, knelt down to Borum's level. No, child. Parents do not own their children. We gave them life, but their lives belong to themselves. Then why did we hide from them? Sora smiled sadly. Because we were afraid. Afraid of what they would think. Afraid of the responsibility. Afraid of making the same mistakes our ancestors made. What mistakes? We were not always peaceful, Sora explained. Long ago, humanity fought terrible wars. We almost destroyed ourselves. We learned that power without wisdom is dangerous. We hoped that by creating other species and watching them grow, we could help them avoid our mistakes. Borum thought about this. But the Velthari still attacked us. Yes, some lessons must be learned the hard way. On Mars, Captain Dahyun met secretly with diplomat Thexil. The Velthari had asked for this meeting through back channels, wanting to talk to someone younger than the ancient elders. Dahyun had agreed, though he was not sure what to say. Your people lied to us, Thexil said without anger, just stating a fact. Yes, Dahyun admitted. I am sorry. I only learned the truth myself 3 days ago. I feel lied to as well. This surprised the alien. You did not know? Most humans do not know. The elders kept the secret. They believed it was better for everyone, including us, to forget our true origins. Young humans grow up thinking we evolved naturally on Earth. We learn about our ancient past only when we are deemed ready. Are you ready? Dahyun laughed bitterly. I do not think so. I spent my whole life believing I was part of a young species reaching for the stars. Now I learn we already conquered the stars millions of years ago and gave it all up. I do not know what to think. Thexil clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Perhaps that is something we have in common now. Neither of us knows our place anymore. They talked for hours, two young people from different species, trying to understand a galaxy that had become much stranger. By the end, they agreed on something. The older generation, human and alien, had made their choices. Now it was time for the younger ones to decide what came next. Dr. Yunji continued her work in the ancient archives. She had access now to records that went back millions of years. What she found disturbed her. Commander Hyunwoo, she called through her communicator. You need to see this. Hyunwoo arrived within minutes. He had been expecting her call. You found the oldest records? Yes, and they confirm what Elder Yunho hinted at. Humanity did not evolve naturally either. We were created. She showed him images from 12 million years ago. Look, human DNA has markers of artificial design. Someone made us just as we made the younger species. Hyunwoo nodded slowly. He had known this truth for thousands of years. Yes, our creators left ruins that we found long ago. They were called the architects. They seeded us on a world we now call Origin. Then they disappeared. Where did they go? We do not know. They left only one message. It said, we created you to be better than us. We failed ourselves. Do not fail your children. Yunji felt chills. So this is all a cycle? They made us, we made others, and someday our children will make their own children? Perhaps. Or perhaps the cycle ends. That is what we tried to discover by creating the younger species. Can created life transcend its origins? Can it become something greater than its makers? And what is the answer? Hyunwoo looked at her with his ancient eyes. We are still trying to find out. Across the galaxy, reactions to the truth varied wildly. The Kroth species embraced humanity as honored ancestors and began building temples in their honor. The Benexi felt betrayed and cut off all communication. The Xylar were fascinated and sent thousands of scientists to Earth to study human technology. The Velthari remained divided, with some seeking peace and others like Admiral Kromek, refusing to accept the new reality. Kromek sat in a cell on his own flagship, arrested by his subordinates who chose survival over his pride. But he was not alone in his anger. Throughout the coalition, extremist groups formed. They called themselves the Pure, and they had one goal: make humanity pay for their deception. They think they are gods. The Pure broadcast on underground channels. They think they can control us. We will show them that created life can destroy its creators. Admiral Minho intercepted these communications with concern. They are planning something, he told Ji-won, something desperate. Can we stop them? We can, but should we? If we control every aspect of their development, are we not proving them right? Are we not acting like tyrants? Ji-won had no answer. This was the central problem of their entire experiment. How much guidance was help? How much was control? Young Borum, despite her age, was invited to speak at the Elder Council. Her teacher, Sora, had recommended her, saying that the youngest generation deserved a voice. Borum stood before beings thousands of years old and showed no fear. I have a question, she said. If we made all these species to be our friends, why did we hide from them? Friends do not lie to friends. Elder Yunho smiled at her directness. We were afraid, child. Afraid of being seen as tyrants. Afraid they would never become independent if they knew we existed. But now they know, and some of them hate us. So hiding did not work. No, it did not. Borum thought for a moment. My teacher says that when you make a mistake, you apologize and try to fix it. Have we apologized? The elders looked at each other. In all their wisdom, in all their millions of years of experience, they had not thought of something so simple. They had explained. They had justified. But they had not apologized. You are very wise for 10 years old, Yunho said. Perhaps you should write the apology. Borum did. Her words were broadcast across the galaxy the next day. Simple words from a child who had not yet learned to hide behind complicated language. We are sorry. Our ancestors made you without asking if you wanted to exist. They watched you like a science experiment. They lied to you about who you were. That was wrong. We cannot undo it, but we can promise to be honest from now on. We can promise to treat you as equals. We can promise to let you choose your own future. We are sorry. Please forgive us. The message was more powerful than any speech from the elders. Across the galaxy, anger began to cool. Not everywhere. Not completely. But enough. Bexel heard the message and felt something shift in his heart. He contacted Daehyun immediately. Your child spoke better than any of our leaders. She is not my child, but yes, she is remarkable. Will your people listen to her? Some will. Others are too set in their ways. But maybe enough will listen to make a difference. On a hidden base in the outer colonies, the pure were not listening. They had found something in an ancient human ruin. A weapon locked away for millions of years. Something so terrible that even ancient humanity had sealed it rather than destroy it. The pure did not know what it did. They only knew it was powerful, and they knew where they would use it. On Earth itself, Admiral Minho detected the preparations too late. The pure had stolen a fast ship, modified with technology taken from human ruins. They were already on course for Earth, and they carried the ancient weapon. How long until they arrive? Minho asked. 4 hours, his tactical officer replied. Can we intercept them? No, sir. They are too fast. Minho stood silent for a long moment. Then he gave an order that hurt his soul. 6 months passed. The galaxy had changed in ways both obvious and subtle. Humanity no longer hid. Ancient humans walked openly on alien worlds, teaching, sharing, and learning in return. The younger species struggled with the new reality, but slowly understanding replaced anger. Dr. Taejin sat in a laboratory deep beneath Antarctica, staring at something impossible. She was a cryptolinguist, one of the best, and she had spent 3 months trying to decode signals that came from beyond the galaxy, structured mathematical patterns that had been broadcasting for weeks. I have something, she called to her team. The language structure is ancient human standard, but it is older than our oldest records. Her assistant, a young man named Wubin, came to look at the translation. His face went pale. That cannot be right. The message was simple, repeated on endless loop. Children of soul, the harvest approaches. Prepare your inheritors. Taejin immediately contacted the Elder Council. Within an hour, Elder Yunho materialized in her laboratory. He looked at the translation and nodded slowly. So it begins. You knew about this? Taejin asked. We suspected. Ancient humanity found ruins older than ourselves. We found messages left by our creators, the architects. They warned us that something comes from beyond the galaxy every 12 million years. They called it the harvest. What is it harvest? Civilizations, life, potential. We do not know exactly. The architects left before it arrived in their time. They hoped we would be ready when it came in ours. Wubin sat down heavily. So everything we did, creating the younger species, hiding, watching them grow, it was all preparation for this? Yes, we needed allies. We needed inheritors. If the harvest takes humanity, someone must remain to continue what we started. On Earth, Ambassador Yuna was in the middle of a meeting with representatives from 40 species when the news broke. The newly formed Galactic Council, still finding its footing, erupted in panic. You created us to be shields, one ambassador accused.
To die in your place?
Yuna raised her hands for calm. No, we created you because we were lonely. The harvest was always a possibility, but it was not the reason. You are not tools. You are our children, our hope, our legacy. What is the harvest? Another ambassador demanded. We do not know exactly. We only know it comes to judge whether life in the galaxy has matured enough to continue existing. The room fell silent. Then diplomat Thexel, who had become a leading voice among the younger species, spoke up. Then we face it together, all of us, as equals. On a remote human outpost, Commander Hyunwoo made a decision. He had lived for 47,000 years. He had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. He had guided, watched, and worried. Now he was tired. So very tired, he wrote a letter to the Elder Council. In it, he resigned from all duties. He disabled his consciousness backup systems. He chose for the first time in millennia to be fully mortal. However many years he had left, he would live them naturally, without the safety net of revival. Why? Ji-won asked when she received his letter. Because I want to feel something real, Hyunwoo replied. For too long I have existed without consequences. Death had no meaning because I could always come back. I want to remember what it means to be truly alive, to have stakes, to matter, Ji-won understood. She had felt the same weariness. Will you at least help us prepare for the harvest? Of course. But when it comes, I will face it as a mortal. If I die, I die. That is acceptable now. Admiral Minho, in contrast, prepared for war. He did not know what the harvest was, but he knew how to defend against threats. He organized the combined fleets of humanity and the younger species into a unified defense force. Ships that had faced each other in hostility 6 months ago now trained together. Captain Dae-hyun, celebrated as a hero after stopping the Pure's attack, was given command of a mixed-species crew. His ship, named Unity, had humans, Velthari, Kroth, and a dozen other species working side by side. It was not always smooth. Cultural differences caused conflicts, but they learned. Young Borum, now 11 years old, continued to ask uncomfortable questions. She had become something of a symbol for the new generation, those who would inherit the galaxy regardless of what the harvest brought. Teacher Sora, she asked during a lesson, if the harvest comes to judge us, what do you think it will look for? Sora considered carefully. Wisdom, perhaps. The ability to grow beyond violence, cooperation. Then we should be fine. We are trying to cooperate now. Yes, but trying is not the same as succeeding. The signals from beyond the galaxy grew stronger. Dr. Taejin decoded more of the message. It was not a threat. It was an announcement. The creators, the architects who had made humanity, were returning. They wanted to see what had become of their experiment. Elder Yunho called an emergency meeting of the Galactic Council. Every species sent representatives. The ancient human stood before them, looking older than anyone had ever seen him. People of the galaxy, he began, I must tell you the deepest truth we have kept. Humanity did not evolve naturally. We were created by beings called the architects. They seeded us on a world called Origin 12 million years ago. They gave us intelligence, curiosity, and the capacity for both great good and terrible evil. Then they left, warning us that they would return one day to see if we had matured. He paused, letting the revelation sink in. That day is now. The harvest is not a weapon or a plague. It is a test. The architects return to judge whether we are worthy of continuing to exist. And by we, I mean all of us. Humanity and every species we created. We are all part of the same family tree. Thexel stood up. What happens if we fail the test? We do not know. The architects never told us. They only said that most of their experiments failed, that entire galaxies had been sterilized because life never learned to transcend its violent nature. Fear rippled through the council chamber. Then Ambassador Yuna spoke. Then we show them what we have learned. We show them that we can choose peace over war, that we can forgive, that we can grow. Can we, though? Someone asked. 6 months ago we were at war. The Velthari attacked Earth. The Pure tried to destroy us all. How can we claim we have transcended violence? Daehyun stood up from his position in the observers section. Because we stopped. Because when given the chance to destroy each other, we chose mercy instead. That has to count for something. 3 weeks later, they arrived. A structure emerged from dark space at the edge of the galaxy. It was enormous beyond comprehension, larger than entire solar systems. Ancient sensors detected it first, then every telescope in the galaxy turned to look. The structure was geometric, crystalline, and beautiful. It seemed to be made of pure energy held in physical form. As it approached, it broadcast a message in every language spoken in the galaxy. We are the architects. We return to evaluate your progress. Prepare to be judged. Ships from every species gathered at a neutral point between the architect's structure and the galactic core. The combined fleet numbered in the tens of thousands. Humanity's ancient vessels flew alongside crude alien ships barely 50 years old. It was a statement. They would face this together. The architect's structure stopped at the gathering point. Then something emerged from it. Beings of pure light, shaped vaguely like humanoid forms but clearly beyond physical limitations. They moved through space as if it were air. One approached the flagship where Elder Yunho, Admiral Minho, Ambassador Yuna, and representatives of 40 species waited. When it spoke, its voice resonated in every mind simultaneously. You are humanity, the children we created. You have altered your own form significantly since we left. Yunho stepped forward. We have adapted to billions of years of existence. We have learned. We have grown, have you? We left you alone and violent, barely capable of controlling your own destructive impulses. You nearly destroyed yourselves in our absence. Have you truly changed? Yes, Yunho said firmly. We learned that violence solves nothing. We learned that power without wisdom leads to ashes, and we learned that being alone in the universe is the greatest tragedy of all. The architect tilted its head. Explain. We were lonely. So incredibly lonely. We searched for millions of years and found no one to talk to. So we created others, not as slaves or toys, but as companions, as children, as equals. You interfered with natural evolution. You played at being God, yes, and we made mistakes. Many mistakes. But we never stopped trying to do better. Thexel stepped forward then, his voice shaking but determined. I am Velthari. 6 months ago, my people attacked humanity, not knowing who they were. We were arrogant and foolish. Humanity could have destroyed us. Instead, they showed mercy. They taught us. They forgave us. Is that not proof of wisdom? Another ambassador joined him. I am Kroth. My people were created by humanity. For years, I felt like a puppet, manipulated by strings I could not see. But I was wrong. They gave us life and let us choose what to do with it. They gave us the stars and asked nothing in return. One by one, representatives from different species came forward. Each told their story. Some spoke of humanity's mistakes. Others spoke of their kindness. All agreed on one thing. Humanity had tried to be better than their violent origins, and they had inspired others to do the same. The architect listened to everything in silence. Then it spoke again. We have watched 1,000 iterations of life across multiple galaxies. The ship carrying the pure extremists raced toward Earth at impossible speeds. Inside, 23 beings from different coalition species worked frantically to prepare the ancient weapon they had stolen. None of them fully understood what they had found. They only knew it had been locked away by humanity in a vault marked with warnings in 100 languages. Never use. Never open. Never forget why this was sealed. They had opened it anyway. On Earth, the Elder Council convened in accelerated consciousness, their minds moving thousands of times faster than normal time. In the real world, only seconds passed. In their expanded awareness, they had hours to debate. Counselor Ji-hoon spoke first. He was ancient even by Elder standards, having lived through humanity's most violent age. We must let the shields reflect the weapon. If we show weakness now, every extremist group in the galaxy will think they can attack us without consequence. The pure made their choice. Let them face the result. The weapon is powerful enough to destroy their homeworld, Counselor Nari countered. She had dedicated her existence to preserving life. 14 billion innocent people live there. They did not choose this attack. Would you kill them all for the actions of 23 extremists? If we do not, we invite more attacks. If we do, we prove their fear of us was justified. The debate raged. Elder Yunho listened but said nothing. He was paralyzed by the weight of the decision. 14 billion lives. How could anyone choose to end so many? But how could they risk Earth and its 10 billion inhabitants? On Mars, Commander Hyunwoo watched the countdown. 2 hours until the pure ship arrived. His hands trembled slightly as he gripped his console. In 47,000 years of life, he had never directly ordered the death of another being. Was today the day that changed? Sir, Captain Daehyun said quietly, there must be another way. If you think of one, please share it. Daehyun bit his lip. Then he made a decision that would define the rest of his life. Permission to take a ship and intercept them. To do what? To talk to them. Hyunwoo looked at him with surprise. They are extremists. They will not listen. Maybe not, but I have to try. What is the point of being the oldest species in the galaxy if we still solve problems by killing each other? Something in those words struck Hyunwoo deeply. He thought of all the years he had lived, all the wisdom he thought he had gained. Yet here was this young human, barely past 30 years old, showing more courage than Hyunwoo had shown in millennia. Go, Hyunwoo said. You have 1 hour. Daehyun ran to the hangar. There he found Diplomat Thexel already waiting with a small shuttle. I am coming with you, the Velthari said. This could get us killed. Then we die trying to prevent a massacre. That is better than living knowing we did nothing. They launched immediately. Daehyun pushed the shuttle to maximum speed, racing to intercept the Pure ship. He broadcast on all frequencies. This is Captain Daehyun of Earth. I request permission to speak with the Pure. I am unarmed. I want only to talk. At first there was no response. Then a voice crackled through. Talk? Your kind has done nothing but lie.
Why should we listen now?
Because I am not one of the elders, Daehyun said. I only learned the truth about humanity 3 days ago. I feel betrayed too. But killing billions of people is not the answer. They killed who we could have been, the voice shouted back. They shaped us like clay. They made us dance like puppets. They deserve to feel pain. Thexel took over the communication. I am Thexel. I am Velthari. I was also betrayed. But think about what you are doing. If you fire that weapon, Earth's shields will send it back. It will not destroy Earth, it will destroy our homeworld. Your revenge will kill your own people. Silence. Then another voice, female, uncertain. Is that true? Yes, Daehyun confirmed. The weapon will reflect. You will accomplish nothing except mass murder of your own species. The Pure's ship slowed slightly. Daehyun could hear arguing in the background. Not all of them had known about the shields. Some were realizing they had been deceived by their own leaders. On Earth, Admiral Minho made a decision without waiting for the Elder Council to finish their debate. He sent a command to his fleet. Ships moved into position around the Pure vessel, but they did not prepare weapons. They simply surrounded it, creating a wall of metal and energy. What are you doing? Jiwon asked him through the communication channel. Giving them time to think, Minho replied. And if they fire the weapon, my ships will absorb the blast, all of it, before it can reach Earth or reflect back. That will destroy your entire fleet. Thousands of crew members, who all volunteered. We discussed it, we agreed. If choosing between our lives and 14 billion innocents, the choice is clear. Jiwon felt tears on her face, something she had not experienced in centuries. You are all insane. No. We are just tired of cycles of revenge. Inside the Pure ship, the 23 extremists were having the same debate that raged in the Elder Council. Some wanted to fire anyway, believing humanity was lying about the shields. Others were horrified to learn they might kill their own people. One of them, a young Benexi named Kelmora, stood up. I lost my father in the war against the Kroth. I wanted revenge against someone, anyone. The human seemed like a good target. But my father would not want me to become a mass murderer. He would not want me to kill billions of our own people. Another extremist, older and harder, spat in disgust. You are weak. Maybe. Or maybe I am finally thinking clearly. Kelmora walked to the airlock. I am leaving. Anyone who wants to come with me can. 6 others stood up and joined him. They took an escape pod and ejected from the ship. Daehyun immediately moved his shuttle to pick them up. That left 17 extremists still committed to the attack. 30 minutes until they reached Earth. Counselor Nari broke from the Elder Council debate and made a choice on her own. She broadcast directly to the Pure ship. This is Counselor Nari. I am one of the humans who decided to create your species. I take full responsibility for what we did. If you need to punish someone, punish me. I will lower Earth's shields for exactly 1 minute. You can fire your weapon at my location. You will kill me, but spare others. Will that satisfy your need for justice? The Pure were stunned into silence. Elder Yunho roared in fury. Nari, what are you doing? What should have been done from the start? Taking responsibility. On the Pure ship, the leader, a scarred Velthari warrior named Kexthor, stared at his screen in disbelief. One of the ancient humans, one of their gods, was offering to die for them. It made no sense. Gods did not sacrifice themselves for mortals. It is a trick, one of his companions said. Maybe, Kexthor admitted. But what if it is not? Daehyun's voice came through again. I met with your people, Kexthor. I know your story. You lost your entire family when a human secretly guided your government into a war you did not want. You blame humanity for those deaths. You are right to be angry. Kexthor felt something break inside him. Someone understood. Finally, someone understood his pain. But killing will not bring them back. Daehyun continued gently. Revenge will not heal you. It will only create more people like you, full of grief and rage. Is that the future you want? The warrior's hands shook on the weapon controls. 14 billion lives on one side, his pain on the other. The scales did not balance. They never would. I cannot, he whispered. I cannot do it. His second-in-command grabbed the controls.
Then I will!
Kexthor tackled him. The two fought desperately as the ship continued toward Earth. 10 minutes left. Other extremists joined the fight, some trying to stop the launch, others trying to make it happen. Admiral Minho's ships moved closer, preparing to intercept. His crew knew they had minutes to live. They held hands, said prayers, sent final messages to loved ones. They did not run. On Earth, young Borum watched the broadcast with her teacher, Sora. Are they going to die? I do not know, child. This is stupid. Everyone is being stupid. They should just talk to each other. Some things cannot be solved with talking. Borum shook her head. Then we should invent something that can. 5 minutes left. On the Pure ship, Kexthor finally overpowered his second-in-command. The weapon was locked out, but the timer was still counting down. 3 minutes until autofire. I cannot shut it off, Kexthor screamed. The safety protocols are gone. Daehyun made a split-second decision. He flew his shuttle directly at the Pure ship. Thexel, take the controls. Get those evacuees to safety. What are you doing? Something stupidly heroic. If I die, tell everyone I did not want to, but felt like I should. He teleported from the shuttle to the Pure ship using emergency transport technology. He materialized in their cargo bay next to the ancient weapon. It was massive, covered in human writing from millions of years ago. 2 minutes, Daehyun had no idea how it worked. But he knew human technology responded to human DNA. He placed his hand on the weapon and poured every ounce of his will into one command. Stop. The weapon recognized him. It hesitated. A million-year-old AI made calculations about authorized users and proper protocols. Daehyun was human. He was therefore qualified to issue commands. But he was not the one who had armed the device. 1 minute, please, Daehyun whispered. We have all made mistakes. Do not let this be another one. The weapon's AI reached a decision. It powered down. The countdown stopped at 17 seconds. Across the solar system,